Hi, this is Lisa, and you are listening to I Love That Movie. This podcast is for movie lovers. It's not an unbiased opinion, it's not a straightforward review, it's just a couple people talking about a movie that they love. The format is each week I have a guest, and that guest and I discuss a movie that they love, something they're obsessed with, something they connect with. We'll talk about the plot, the director, and the actors, but we'll also talk about the personal connection my guest has with that movie. So if that sounds like something you want to listen to, keep listening. Hey, this is Lisa, and if you want to catch up with me on Twitter, you can find me at ILTM Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at I Love That Movie Podcast, and we have a Patreon. The show is always free, but if you want to support us on there, you can. That's at patreon.com/I Love That Movie. And when you join, you do get a bonus episode every week of my weekly roundup. You know, people ask me a lot what I think about current movies and current shows. That all kind of goes on the Patreon. And I want to take a moment to thank my top patrons, and they are Chris Balga, Jeff Widman, Philip Barker, Michael Cross. Thank you so much for keeping the lights on. And if you like what you hear today, please subscribe and rate the show. It does help new listeners find us. Well, I have a returning guest today. I have Melissa. Say hi, Melissa.
Hello.
Hello. Melissa, if this is, our listeners' first time hearing you on the show, would you mind introducing yourself a little bit?
Yeah, of course. I'm Melissa Nicholson, and you can find me on the Nerdnited Nations podcast. I co-host and host the show. It's a show that talks about basically anything and everything under the umbrella of nerd, so which is vast. But it's basically, your movies, your comic books, TV shows, all sorts of stuff we talk
Fun.
about. So yeah, it's and other than that, um yeah, I do art. I'm a Whovian, which is a Doctor Who fan, and yeah, I think that's really about it.
Awesome. Well, my guest always picks the movie. What movie did you choose to talk about today?
My pick is the Polar Express.
Yes. So this came out in 2004, which kind of blows my mind. I don't think I realized it came out that long ago.
No, it blew my mind too. I was like, I didn't think it was that, like, sort of, I don't know, can you call it old?
Yeah, I mean it's like 17 years ago, right? That's so
Oh my
crazy.
goodness. Oh,
Sorry.
so
But
many things lately have been turning 20, and it's just,
yes.
oh, that's.
Time marches on. Well, so this when we talk about these movies, I do want to let our audience know that I won't be, there will be spoilers. So if you haven't seen Polar Express yet, I do recommend you go watch it and then come back. And here's a quick synopsis of the film. Um, Tom Hanks and director Robert Zemeckis reunite for Polar Express on an inspiring adventure based on the beloved children's book by Chris von Allsburg. When a doubting young boy takes an extraordinary train ride to the North Pole, he embarks on a journey of self discovery that shows him that the wonder of life never fades for those who believe.
Mhm.
And as that said, this is directed by Robert Zemeckis, and the book is by Chris von Allsburg. Melissa, tell me your history with Polar Express, like with the book, with the movie. Were you familiar before this film, or?
I actually didn't know that it was a book. um, it wasn't one that I knew of or was familiar with.
Oh,
Um,
cool. No worries.
so yeah, I didn't realize it was a book until I think after I'd seen the movie, and then um, I think I actually had stumbled upon it at a bookstore and was like, oh, it's also a book.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just kind of neat. And I don't think I've actually, um, I've seen the book, but I haven't actually read the book.
I don't think I have either. Yeah.
Yeah, but but like I've seen like the pictures and everything from the book. Like I've sort of flipped through it, and it definitely, I feel like the film brings that book to life, like
Yeah.
especially in the imagery and everything like that. Um, I I was sort of late in the game with this movie. Um, I can't exactly remember when I did see it, but it definitely wasn't one like when it came out or anything like that. But maybe a little bit after,
Hmm.
and it was definitely one that I loved from first viewing. It's such a heartwarming, fun, a little bit thought provoking, funny. Um, yeah, it's just an all encompassing film that just has all the right sort of elements to it.
I
And
agree.
yeah, I really loved it, and I've been watching it uh, basically every year on Christmas.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think I've seen this before, but I saw it late as well. I think, I don't know, when it came out, I think I was a little too old for. I mean, I still see kids' movies sometimes, but not every one. So I think I missed this one. But now that I've gone back and seen it, I kind of wish I'd seen it sooner. But this was not my first time viewing it either. I think that I watched it on a digital service. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I agree. It is very heartwarming. And you can definitely tell, that, I mean, it's got the Zemeckis like feel all over it, and which I love about it. So it's a good movie, and I have a couple of quick facts about it. The film is actually listed in the 2006 Guinness Book of World Records as the first all digital capture film where all acted parts were done in digital capture.
Yeah,
And I think, like, Zemeckis and Spielberg, like they tried a few of these. This one was pretty successful. There are some others like Tintin that weren't as successful, or another one is Beowulf, which I also enjoyed. Love all three of these films, but it's like I feel like this is the one that audience gravitated towards. It took a while for audiences to like this sort of like all digital capture stuff. They didn't
yeah,
take to it right away. We're in a different place now.
yeah. And I it's funny that this all digital captured. I think is pretty amazing, and especially
Yes.
for around 2004.
Uh huh.
And I feel like it still sort of holds up.
I agree. It actually looks really good. Like I was watching it the other night, and it looks really smooth, and it doesn't look like, yeah, it hasn't aged badly at all.
Yeah, like sometimes with sort of the older animations, you can just tell it's dated.
Yeah, it's like
And
it can be cringy sometimes.
yeah, where it's just, yeah, this was like 90s or something, or
Yeah,
you just know. But this one, I feel like has aged very well, and I also do find it funny that from different people, they have different views of the animation itself.
oh really?
Yeah. um like some friends of mine, they kind of find it a little bit creepy.
I will say older CG had this problem, and I don't know how they fixed it, and I don't know what it is, but it's where people looked kind of unfocused, or
Yeah.
sometimes a little bit cross-eyed and or dazed. Yeah, there is something to that, and I don't know. They fixed that in between then and now, but I could totally see. I think at first when this movie came out, I was like, I was worried it would be creepy, and so I kind of avoided it. But then, when you go back and watch it, it's really not. But I know what your friends are saying, though. I see it a little bit.
Yeah, I can certainly see that if you're really sort of paying attention to it. Yeah, it does look a little bit sort of off.
Yeah,
I don't know about creepy, but it is a little bit off. But I mean, for me, it doesn't take away from the film at all. Like I
I agree.
still absolutely love the film.
Yeah, and so we mentioned earlier that's based on a book.
Mhm.
Um, the same author actually wrote Jumanji and Zathura.
Oh yeah,
I feel like I'm not that familiar with Zathura, but with Jumanji, I definitely like. I remember when the Jumanji movie came out, and I was already obsessed with the book. I remember really liking the book because the art was all in pencil drawings,
yeah.
and yeah, you could definitely see like it's got the same art style as Jumanji, so I could see
Mhm.
that. Um, Also, when Hero Girls, some of the characters like don't have names. I don't know if you
Which
noticed that about the movie. It's kind of weird.
I didn't actually realize that until very recently, where like, yeah, they don't. And I looked it up on IMDb, and yeah, no, it's hero boy, hero girl, know it all kid.
Yeah, it's like I guess it's kind of because it's almost like a dream. They like never really introduce themselves. But
Yeah.
when Hero Girl sounds the train whistle, she says she has wanted to do that her whole life, which is actually a line Doc Brown says in Back to the Future Part 3, also directed by Robert Zemeckis. So I thought that was kind of a neat full circle moment.
That is neat.
But that's pretty much all I have. This it's got a great cast, obviously Tom Hanks,
Yep.
who I feel like they didn't really do a lot to change how he looks or anything. It still kind of looks like Tom Hanks too.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know a ton about the rest of the cast. What about you?
I don't. I actually don't either. When I was looking at the listing, other than obviously Tom Hanks, but apparently, and this was something I learned because I was looking up on IMDb that um, it took three actors to um, basically play the role of Hero Boy.
Oh, because was it because he's aging?
I think so. It was the Yeah, three different actors play the role of Hero Boy. Tom Hanks does the motion capturing and adult voice, and Daryl Sabara does the voice acting, and Josh Hutcherson does additional motion capturing.
Interesting.
Yeah, that fact just kind of really blew my mind. Um, so like three different people playing that one character is
Yeah, that's
neat.
interesting.
And also, one little fact I found out was when you had mentioned Steven Spielberg, it reminded me that when sort of closer to the end of the film, where um, they're the elves are they've got one last sort of naughty child that
Uh-huh.
comes up, and it's a kid from New Jersey who put gum in their sister's hair. Um, it was actually, and the kid was named Steven,
Uh-huh.
was actually a little like sort of um not jab but homage to Steven Spielberg, and how Steven Spielberg is, I guess, in his childhood he would terrorize his sisters.
Oh my
So
gosh.
Steven Spielberg was the kid in New Jersey putting the gum in his sister's hair.
Oh no. That's too funny.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about some of your favorite scenes?
Yeah. I really love um, I sort of like at the beginning where you're sort of setting up the character and how he has, like articles about Santa, like the Santas go on strike, and he's got other um, like Santa sightings and things like that, and sort of setting him up to be sort of that healthy skeptic,
Yeah.
somebody who probably believed in Santa at one point, but now kind of doesn't so much believe in Santa.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the train trip sort of changes that, right?
Yep.
So I really like that part. So, you really get a sense of who this kid is, and um, sort of what his sort of belief is at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I also love when they're gonna the caribou are across the rail tracks, the 100 million of them or whatever
Yeah.
it's gonna take hours for them to clear out, and how the conductor pulls the engineer's beard, and it's like he's talking to them. I think that's just it gets me every time. I think it's absolutely hilarious. I mean, it probably wouldn't be so much fun to have your beard pulled, but it's funny in that moment anyway.
Yes, I agree.
Um, and I also um, I really like the hot chocolate scene.
Oh
That
yeah.
whole choreographed segment. I think it's so much fun. The dishes are flying, and as they're serving the hot chocolate, and I really love the it's not really a kettle, but the container that the hot chocolate's in, and it's like three spouts, and they're
Yes.
like pouring at once. And yeah, so I really loved it, and especially the end too, where the kids are kind of hot chocolate drunk. I'm
Yeah,
just like, oh yeah,
they've had a little too much sugar.
yep. Sugar high is down now. And I do like the one um, the know-it-all kid, how he's, oh, Montezuma, the king of the Aztecs, had 50 quarts of hot chocolate every day, and it was um, it was thick as mud and red, because he would put hot peppers in it instead of sugar. And get it, hot chocolate.
I love that kid. I mean, like, I feel like we all knew a kid like that, and I don't know. I just find all his like cut-ins to be really funny. And later in the movie, when he's kind of told by Santa to be a little bit more humble,
Oh my
I
god.
like that part. It's kind of like he's developing, like he's a bit much, but he has a good heart, and I think by the end of the film, he kind of grows a little bit.
I think
Poor
so too.
kid.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do love when they discover him in the gift bag,
Yes.
Santa's bag. I was making sure that I got all my presents on my list, and one of them was just stupid underwear.
We all remember those days where we get a bunch of socks or something from an
Yeah,
aunt or something. Um,
yeah.
so question for you. The guy that's hitching a ride on the train, what is your interpretation of this guy?
I think um he's definitely a guide. Like
Yeah.
he's someone who's there to guide you kind of in the right direction, and um be there at sort of that right moment.
Yeah.
Because he always seems to kind of be there, like especially when they're the one. Essentially, I guess the caboose of the train gets loose,
Yeah.
and it will take a break. And okay, obviously they found the brake, and they put the brakes on, and even just offering kind of being there for Hero Boy when he's on top of the train.
Yeah, and he kind of like he plays devil's advocate a lot too because he's always like you don't believe like I don't believe and like sort of he's like that other the bad angel on his shoulder sometimes I feel like too. Like he plays more than one part almost.
Yeah, and you know what I realized with this film is that it's very much a Christmas Carol movie,
Yes, yeah.
and I that like the hobo character, he's very much Christmas past slash future.
Agreed. Yeah. And like
Like he's
also when he like disappears, like you're worried that he's going to get like hit by the tunnel and he like magically disappears and reappears so you're like, "Oh, like he's magical as well."
mhm,
Which reminds me of the spirits, like you said.
where it's the hobo, he's the Christmas past slash future, and then like the conductor is Christmas present because very much on time
Yeah.
after and then like Santa is Christmas future because he ultimately changes Hero Boy's beliefs, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good way to look at it. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I love that it's on a train too. I don't know. When
Mm.
I first saw this movie, like when the train is coming into his room and stuff, it reminded me of I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland.
I haven't. It
Okay.
sounds familiar, but I haven't.
It was based on like a comic that was, I guess, early 1900s. It was a comic strip. But anyway, Little Nemo is like a boy that when he goes to bed, he goes to like Slumberland. And in the movie, it involved like a train. And so this scene like reminds me a lot of that. And plus, I did see the parallels between this and Back to the Future 3. Like even before I read that, there's even theories about perhaps the train time travels and things like that, which of course is what happens in Back to the Future 3. Um, and I just like all that stuff. I don't know why. I kind of like train movies. And there is something Christmassy about a train for whatever reason.
Very much so. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's very much so. Like, and it's yeah, it's very. I think too. It just like especially in the film because obviously it's Christmas time and it's winter and it's so cozy.
Yeah, it fits the aesthetic for
Yeah.
sure. And I
Uh,
like the way the conductor is, like, he seems like such an adult, where, like, he's so stern and sometimes it kinda catches the kids off guard.
mhm.
He's really strict about the tickets. I feel like that's what you feel like when you're a kid, that adults have all these weird, strict rules and none of them really make sense to you. So I feel
Yeah.
like but, ultimately, he's a kind person once they
Oh yeah.
kinda get to know him.
Yeah. And I could see that for sure. Like there's so much, I think especially at Christmas time, like, when there's so much, you're doing so much more
Yeah.
during that month, or even just during that close time where you're with family, or you're doing so many things. And I'm sure, at some point, being a kid, it's just like, what's going on,
I know,
you
it's
know
very busy.
and so, yeah, I could see, like, it doesn't, something not making sense if, he's being kind of stern with them, and it's sort of like, okay, what really, but I find it funny that he can be so stern with them, but then it's like, well, a legitimate reason why they did what they did, so it's sort of like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They see in retrospect for sure.
Yeah.
What's another scene that you really like?
um I really like sort of near the, I like with Billy, actually,
Yeah.
because he obviously he comes from, a poor family,
Mhm.
who, might not have had very much during his sort of early life, and even now. And so, I really love just his sort of growth from
Yeah.
sort of who we meet at first to near the end, especially when, you know um and the conductor says, you'll count on, you know bringing you home safe and sound. And he said, yeah, for sure, and also, my friends too. And it's just like, oh, that's just so heartwarming.
Yeah, you kinda get the feeling, yeah, maybe there's trouble at home,
Yeah.
or, he says that every Christmas he's disappointed, and we don't really know exactly what that means other than, assumptions like maybe his family doesn't have a lot of money, or maybe they don't get along, or, I do like that acknowledgement that not everybody has the perfect picture of Christmas, but the way the
Mhm.
kids are able to sort of navigate that emotionally with him and be like, you should still have hope and you should still have joy, and maybe this Christmas will be different. Like, there's no reason to expect that everything is going to go wrong either. And I think that kind of resonates with me because I do feel like I'm that kind of personality where, like, one bad thing happens and I'm like, oh, it's over. And these kids are kind of teaching him, like, there's other things to be grateful for, like his friends. And yeah, by the end, it's like he kind of already got his Christmas gift, although he gets one in the end. We see he's the first kid to get one.
Mhm.
But he grows so much from that, like you said, and the friendships he really treasures at the end.
Mhm. And then the, like, the one line, the real gift, I think it's something like, the real gift is friendship.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that because it's so true.
It's
We get so many gifts every year, and, like, do you really remember all the gifts you get? You really don't. The most important, thing about the holidays, the people that you spend it with.
Of course, that's, always the most important thing. That, it's about, yeah, who's around you at the time. And you know basically, like, you can still see the magic of the season even without, the physical gifts or anything like that. It's, the people you're around. It's, the memories that you make. It's all those kind of things.
Mhm.
You um it's just, it's all those things, that it's so much more than just that. And I think, like, Billy sort of realizes that, and, sort of allows himself to realize that, yeah, this is, there's more to it than just, being disappointed over not getting a gift. That.
Yeah, I think that's so hard for kids to grasp that concept because, like, everything around the holidays kind of revolves around them getting a gift. Like, they have to make a list and then they have to be really good. And so it's like the
Yeah.
the focus sometimes is maybe a little too much on the gifts. And I think it's as you get older you kind of realize what the true focus should be.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. As a kid, like, even I remember, like, it was always, making a Christmas list, doing this, doing that, and, so much of pressure sort of on that. And now it's like, well, although I never really, I kind of made Christmas lists, but then I kind of decided, why am I making a Christmas list? Like, it didn't really matter to me. Like,
Yeah, I
okay,
see that.
if I got something for Christmas, then fine, but I don't need to make a list. I felt kind of, I don't know, like a bratty kid making a list.
Oh, you sound like you're a really empathetic child.
Yeah, like I really felt like just some bratty kid, like demanding things, and I just, no, I didn't like that.
Aw.
I mean, some, like, grandparents and things like that. They always sort of asked for things, and they sort of said, like, ideas, right? So I was
Yes.
like, okay, I
Yeah,
kind of
they
felt
they
a little
need
bit
help.
better.
Yeah, because they don't know what you like.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, a list of ideas or things, but but yeah, I just, yeah, that the list making kind of stopped pretty quickly, because I just, no, it wasn't my it wasn't my thing.
I understand. Well, I wish
Mhm.
I could say I was that humble, but I think my list went on for a while. Um, I really like the girl hero too. Sort of the leader really in the movie. She ends up being does I think that's even what her ticket says at the end, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's his lead, and he's,
Lead, yeah.
leadership. Um, what is it? Leading leadership. And how he said, "I'll follow you anywhere, ma'am." Like, that's, really cool.
She was
But
very
yeah,
solution oriented the whole movie, you know.
very much the, you know sort of logical, rational thinker.
Mhm.
Like, even when she saves the hot chocolate for Billy.
Yeah.
She tucks it under her chair, and then she gets another one for herself, and then she brings it to Billy. Like, she's, very much, looking at this situation, and fixing it where she can, sort of thing.
Yeah, like at the end too when the hero boy loses the bell, the one proof of Santa Claus that he could hold on to that he was given. She's like, "Well, let's get out and find it." You know, she
Yeah.
kind of redirects a lot of the characters when they start having sort of like negative feelings or thoughts. She kind of tries to redirect it into a more positive place, and ultimately, the kids start to really follow her lead all the time. And
Hmm.
yeah, I really liked that character and all the things that she did. She's very sweet too, a lot of hugs.
Yeah.
And the two main characters, I think, because they're probably like 9 or 10, so they're getting like closer, I guess, to puberty. They have sort of a will they, won't they moment where you
Hmm.
almost feel like they're gonna kiss or something at the end, but they're kind of too little to really be there yet. But I just thought it was cute.
Yeah.
Because they
It's
meet on this dream plane, sort of, I don't know, other realm. They're never going to see each other again, which is a bummer.
Yeah. But it's definitely, there's that, like, like, especially like Hero Boy, like, near the end, he's, well, we'll see ya.
Yeah, it's awkward. He's like, I don't know what to say here, but bye bye.
I find it funny though, like, they have that such awkward moment,
Yeah.
and they've been, like, kind of hanging out with each other the whole entire evening. So you'd think, okay, you'd be kind of cool and fine, but no, it's that. Okay, well, see ya.
I'll see you around. Yeah. I liked the elves too. And if you really
Yeah.
pay attention to them, when you see them in the crowd, they're all kind of doing something different. Like
Mhm.
you can tell there was a lot of attention paid to them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like, you really see sort of the different personalities of the elves, and I like the one that's on the Santa's sack, and he's, oh, because it's Christmas, I'll let you slide.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and then the one that almost gets, he poked with the star that falls,
Oh
in the
yeah.
nose. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And just like I think too, like how that's like a sort of a cinematic challenge. I think at the time to animate all those elves are just there's tons of them. They're just like spilling out of everywhere, in that scene.
Yeah, there's so many, especially like the sort of wider shot of them, like when you see
Yeah,
them on that sort of square, and So wow, like the amount of, you know, animating that had to have gone into that is just incredible.
Mhm. Well, were there some other scenes that you really liked that we haven't talked about yet?
I think I pretty well mentioned the ones that actually one more I really like. It's at the beginning, and they're going past the one store that's all decorated up for Christmas,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you see, everybody, they're like, oh, like they're really, all about sort of the magicalness of it and really loving all the decorations. And Hero Boy, he sees the Santa, and then you see it turn, and his back has like the gears because he's kind of like a, oh, like animatronic Santa.
Yeah, that's right.
And you see again like his sort of head shake, like, yeah, he's not, Santa's not real, kind of thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything, but you kind of know what he's thinking. Whereas, everybody else is just like, wow, like this is a really amazing thing.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's another one that I really like. And yeah, I think that's it for the favorite scenes that I really like.
I think the last one for me that I really like is whenever that scene that we were kind of mentioning earlier where the caboose is like out of control and it's like going through the town really fast. It definitely looks like a ride at Universal, and like a lot of this movie kind of feels like that to me, like a ride almost. Do you agree?
Definitely,
Yeah.
especially when they're the train goes up the hill, and they have to like, um I can't remember the name of it, but they're going up the hill, and then they're going to go down the really steep thing and up and around. It's sort of like a roller coaster.
Yeah, and it's like fun to watch. Like even though it's like I'm watching it at home, in my PJs on the couch, but like it was exciting to watch, and it just reminded me of being at a theme park, and so I
Yeah,
really like that scene a lot. I think they did that very effectively, and I think it just adds something to the movie where the movie could be super straightforward and just only about believing in Santa, but they're able to like inject these moments that are like just more action and more exciting, which is something I think Robert Zemeckis is like obviously very good at.
yeah, very much. Like it's very much like a 0 to 100 thing. Like, especially at that moment,
Yeah.
it's really slow. It sort of builds you up, and then it just gets into it. And I was actually, I had watched with my mom, and she remarked when she was watching it that, this would be really cool to see on in like a big theater screen.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen it that way, so I agree.
Especially like the train going down the hill and up and around, and like that would be an experience in itself.
Yeah, it feels like it'd be very suited to like IMAX.
Yeah,
And
that would be really cool.
there's a train here in Texas and in like the Grapevine area that goes from like between Grapevine and Houston, and they do a lot of like Christmas themes.
Oh yeah,
Do you guys have stuff like that where you are too?
we don't
Oh.
actually.
Yeah, and like actually John Rogers, who's been on the podcast several times, is frequently Santa on these trains.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And yeah, you can kind of like ride it, and it's just Christmas themed. I don't know if it's specifically Polar Express, but I think they have done sort of a Polar Express theme before, but I just feel like that would be like a really fun Christmas activity. So I
Yeah.
keep coming back to the trains. I just really like that part of it.
There's yeah, there's one in Duluth, Minnesota. They have a Christmas train.
Oh,
Um,
that's nice.
that I'm not sure the route of it or how far it goes, but they have a Christmas train that is all decorated up for Christmas, and you can ride it, and it's something I haven't done. Um, but it looks really cool, and I've seen the train, and it's really cool, all decorated up and everything. And so yeah, that's something that they do over there.
Yeah.
Um, so
It's
yeah,
probably
we don't
better up
really,
there because you'd at least have snow. Here, it's like a Christmas train, but like there's no snow.
yeah, because like I've been down in Duluth for Christmas before, or at least around Christmas, and yeah, they have the train going, and it's sort of I think it starts maybe around end of November into then like sort of December up until Christmas, I think.
Mm.
Because I've been there around my birthday, which is sort of that end of November, and
Oh, I'm born in November too.
And so they have the train, and then they also have like a whole light display called Bentleyville, and which
Oh.
is beautiful. Like it's down at Canal Park, and it's a whole path that you can walk through, and it's different light displays and like light tunnels and stuff, and it's so beautiful. And then they have the train going, and it's just such a like magical space.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, but we up here, like where I am, we don't really have that,
Hmm.
um, which is kind of sad, I guess. But we do have like a citywide um, Christmas light display map that you can follow. It's actually through Google Maps.
Oh, wow.
People will list their addresses, like who they have like decorated,
Oh,
and so you can
interesting.
actually like plan your route and drive around the city and look at different light displays that people have.
Oh, that's fun. I've never heard of that.
It,
That's very cool.
They've done that for I think the last couple years now. Actually, it may be a bit longer, but since I've known, it's been since last year. So it's really cool.
Were there other details about the movie that we haven't touched on that you wanted to chat about still?
Yeah, it's very much like I think of like the golden ticket. It's almost like Willy Wonka esque,
I
you know.
agree. Yeah, that's a good comparison.
except, except they're not finding the golden ticket in the chocolate; they're finding it in their pocket,
Mm-hmm. I know.
which
I
I think
love that whole like looking in your pocket and it's there part of
yeah.
it. That's really
And
fun.
one thing I noticed, and I how many years of watching this film and I didn't notice before, but I noticed it when I watched it, for podcast homework was when Hero Boy he puts the ticket in his pocket, sort of one last time, it disappears just before it goes into his
Oh,
pocket. I was like, oh my goodness.
I did not notice that. Wow.
It's he gets his ticket punched. He goes up on the train. He's walking to sort of his seat. He tucks the ticket in his pocket, and you see it fade away.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's such a neat little detail that I just noticed.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Hmm. So it sort of brings around the like how it ended up in his pocket. Like so, obviously it's a magical ticket.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was really neat, and I do love that that each ticket has it's got a word, but that word has a lesson,
Yes.
like believing and leading and learn, and all those different things, and each child kind of gets their own little sort of teaching moment. And I think that's really cool because it really shows kind of their growth from who we met at first to now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I like it has a good arc for each character because of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
By the way, apparently this movie is also known as the Polar Express and IMAX 3D experience. So I guess that makes sense why it looked really good on IMAX. And probably why there's so much motion and roller coaster type stuff if it was 3D. I don't typically love 3D, but I would definitely give this one a chance.
Yeah, I'm not really one for 3D either, unless it's sort of a film that like I think could work in 3D. So then I
Yeah.
would likely see it in 3D. Like this one would be kind of fun like that.
Yeah, I agree.
But I honestly, it wouldn't even have to be in 3D for me to want to see it in the big screen
Yeah,
because
same.
that would be just so much fun.
Yes, I'm 100%.
Yeah, I think I feel like my local theater has had it there before, like as like a sort of a Christmas
Yeah,
movie.
it seems like it's part of the rotation at a lot of places.
Yeah, but I always seem to miss it. I feel like I need to keep an eye on this now and take that chance to go see it on the big screen because I think that
Yes.
it would just add to the experience.
Hmm. I agree. Well, was there anything else that we haven't covered yet? I know it's
Uh,
kind of a short movie, so it's hard to.
it really is, and it doesn't it's well
It
paced.
is well paced.
There, you've got your sort of slower moments, but then it really just picks up, and it really has everything going through its paces. And yeah, it's a very quick, what is it, an hour
An hour and
39
40 minutes? Yeah.
yeah. um but it's such a, you know it's so heartwarming, it's so cozy, it's fun, it's funny, it's got all those awesome, movie elements,
I agree.
and it's also one of those that I only watch, like, either like on Christmas Eve, um or like in December, like around Christmas.
Uh-huh.
There's other ones that you could watch, anytime really, but that one definitely is one that I just watch, in December, because it just has such, it's so Christmassy, and it's so nice to watch when, like, there's snowing outside or something, and it's just, I don't know, it's a cozy film.
I agree. That kind of brings me to my last couple of questions for you. Number one, I guess you kind of already summed it up a little bit, but one more time, why do you think you've watched this so many times? Why is it part of your yearly rotation?
Because it's such a it's a really fun, good story.
Mhm.
The story is told really, really well, and it's got a lot of heart to it, and
Mhm.
it's heartwarming in the sense of the different characters and their stories, and especially, looking at Billy, like, I think he has the most heartwarming story,
Mhm.
where, he learns and he grows, and, it's sort of, his situation is sort of explained to him in a kid viewpoint, so I think he better understands,
Yeah.
and he grows from that, and so I really love that, and I also love that none of the characters that you meet aren't sort of thrown off to the side, like, you kind of forget them, like, there's no, everybody gets their moments, and so I really like that too, and it's such a, I find it such a cozy film. It's so, um it's definitely one that, I like to watch in December, either, sort of late December, or, middle of December, or even around, close to Christmas.
Yeah.
It's never one like, like your Nightmare Before Christmas, which I watch all year round because you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good
It's more,
point.
it's something like that where, you can watch it anytime. It can be middle of July, and you can throw on, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and I've done it because it's just such a good, film. But this one is definitely my, you know somewhat mandatory Christmas viewing for me. Like, it's just one of those ones that I have to watch at least every year, and it just, for me, it really says Christmas,
Yeah.
and it really brings out sort of that Christmas spirit in me, that, because I love Christmas, I really
Me
do. I
too.
love Halloween, but I kind of like Christmas just that little bit more, I think, because just the lights and everything, and the movies that you watch, and yeah, this is definitely like a viewing for me,
Yeah.
that I do every year, and I think there's really only two that I watch, that I have to watch sort of every year, but sort of like specific time, is this one, and then the 1951 black and white A Christmas Carol with
Okay.
Alice Pym. Like, that one I watch Christmas Eve. I
Oh,
don't know
nice.
why, but I watch it Christmas Eve as late as you like, and that's what I do every year. I don't watch it any other time. So this one, The Polar Express, is very much that too.
Got it.
Um, and it's funny because it is a Christmas Carol themed film, so it's
It
just kind of,
is.
but
You've got a theme going.
but yeah, I absolutely adore this film. I've loved it from first viewing, and I love watching it and look forward to watching it every year.
And how would you pitch it to someone that hasn't seen it before?
Um, if they really like sort of a different take on A Christmas Carol,
Yeah. I
um,
love that you pointed that out. I really truly did not notice that until you said it. So I love that.
it was something I sort of thought of, and then it was funny because I was thinking about it, and I actually had read it on IMDb that it is a Christmas Carol movie. I'm like, it is.
Like for children. Yeah. Very
Yeah,
cool.
where it's not your traditional told story, but it's sort of done in a different way where you have sort of the elements of it, where you
Hmm.
have these different characters and things, and but it's sort of structured in a different way. So I would pitch it to somebody in the sense of like if they like that, um, they would probably really enjoy this film, and then just a film that's sort of. I mean, it is a Christmas film, but it's also sort of a little bit of a non-traditional Christmas film.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah, for
think.
sure.
So if they like a different take on a Christmas Carol and sort of your non-traditional Christmas film, they would 1,000% I think get into it a lot.
Yeah. Very good. I like that explanation. I agree. I didn't see this when it came out and I kind of regretted it and I've enjoyed it every time I watched it. I think it's a good classic, a newer classic. Different from the traditional ones. Always love A Christmas Carol. Absolutely love that story. But I love this too, and it's one that you can watch with the whole family, and it's so positive and uplifting. Just a good time. Um,
Absolutely.
Melissa, well, where can people find you?
Oh, they can find me. Well, as I mentioned at the start, I'm a host of the Nerdnited Nations podcast with my best friend Jared Boots. We talk about anything and everything under the umbrella of nerd. So that's your comic books, your movies, your TV shows, all that stuff. You can find it on Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Um, and for me personally, on social medias, you can find me on Instagram at Miss Melissa N25, and I also have another Instagram page that's strictly for all the art that I do, and it's called Scribbles of a Wannabe Drawer, and it's all one word, nothing fancy. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for coming on. This has been really fun to chat about this film, and hope to have you back soon.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you for inviting me. This is I've been looking forward to this because I definitely love this movie, and I was really looking forward to chatting about it.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that with me.
You're welcome.